What's up? How goes it, crew?
Good.
Nope, just trying to check the live stream.
Need a professional website? I created one.
All right. Check the. Okay, I think we are good to go.
Just need to promote Paul.
Oh, Paul, there he is.
What's up, Clint?
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Are we all here?
Yep.
So we'll kill cameras. I'll share my screen. We'll just go through the boilerplate, and then we can turn cameras back on and have a chat with Paul about the takedowns.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okie dokes. Sharing screen. Cameras off. There we go. You guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Welcome to SEO Fight Club with Ted and Kyle and Clint. I am Kyle. Today's episode 57. We're looking at DMCA Takedowns. We have a special guest, an actual attorney, Paul Liberatore. Paul, are you there with us?
I am here.
All right. How are you doing, Paul?
Good, Kyle. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. We'll do a little more intro later. Let's get through some boilerplate real quick. Clint, this is Ted's slide, not mine. When is SEO this week coming back?
I'm bringing it back next week, and then on top of that, we're adding some new stuff to it. So hopefully the new format will be nice and can continue on forever and ever.
Can you give us a little sneak peek as to what the some of the new features?
Well, a lot of it was the audience, like the site audits and stuff, kind of getting bored out with the news. I really don't blame them. I was getting tired of reading it too. So we're doing more site audits, looking at more SEO tips, more practical stuff, how to take what IMG and SIA are doing and testing and actually implementing that stuff better. So that's where I'm going with it now.
Awesome. All right, Internet Marketing Gold. This is the group that spawned out of the Quora Pop support group. It's free to join. We have over 1,800 members now. I checked that this morning. Yeah, there's stuff in there for everybody. There's lots that you can learn. Like I said, join for free if you'd like to chat a little bit more. And then there's a free Quora Lite webinar. Very exciting tomorrow. It's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time. Ted, why don't you tell us what's going to happen on that?
Well, I'm going to walk everyone through how to use Quora Lite, how to set up the branding for the white label reports, how to use the two different modes for single reports or creating reports for every website for a keyword automatically. I'm going to walk through the report itself, how to read it. It's super ergonomic for use. So a lot of people, they wonder, what does this factor mean? What does this tag mean? Well, all the factors directly link to the most appropriate documentation for the factor. The reports have inline documentation. They explain what everything means. It's just a really cool tool, and it's not a crippled version of Quora. What I didn't want to do was to take Quora and cripple it. It is a different tool. It is very complementary to Quora and the rest of the tool set. And so I'm looking forward to showing it to everyone.
I have to think that 80% of your support tickets were people asking what different factors mean.
Actually, it's not too bad. There are, some people that don't know HTML. And they obviously have a very difficult time with SEO tools.
I've said before that when you look at the factors that are in tools like Quora and then also Pop, if you just learn what those things are and then how to find them, and what they mean, you become a top 100 SEO in the world. I'm convinced of it, because if you know what those things are, and then you can look at your competitors and see what they're doing, how they're utilizing that, it dramatically ups your SEO game.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I find that when you understand what the various zones of the page are, what the tags are, what the various web technologies are, you can basically analyze the competition and create a playbook of all the tactics they use. Then you can go to your client and say, I have this menu of tactics we can do to compete. Which ones really resonate with you the most? And it makes for very ergonomic SEO engagements if you can bring your customers a menu of things and they can pick what they're comfortable with.
Love it. So I would recommend, like, even if people aren't interested in using Corelight or aren't sure what it is, I think you learn a lot about SEO just going to this webinar, bit.ly/Cora-Lite, LITE.
Yep.
Join Ted tomorrow.
And part of that is going to be 10,000 reports. You can go take a look and kick the tire with them.
Oh, there you go. All right, so today's episode, special guest Paul Liberatore of Takedown.com, and we're going to be talking about DMCA takedowns, and we can end this and go back to camera. Maybe. Did I effectively stop sharing? No. All right, now we're back. All right, so Paul, thanks for coming on. Paul, you are a real attorney. Is that true or is that false?
I am a real life attorney. Yeah, I don't look like one. I'm wearing a t-shirt.
Well, you're an Arizona attorney. Arizona attorneys are casual.
The Arizona attorneys. I mean, you know what I look like. I wear shorts sometimes.
Now, you know, we've known, I've known you for, I guess, year and a half or so, 2 years, something like that. And then you also know Ted and Clint from other things as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, actually, Clint's helped me on some of my sites for speed, and tweaking out the speed on it.
So in addition to an attorney, you have sites that you run. What kind of sites?
Yeah, so right now I have, I'm also an affiliate marketer, so I have an affiliate site that I've been running for about 3 years. And so, you know, I didn't know much when I started at all, to be honest, and just started learning, you know, trial and error and breaking stuff and learning along the way. That's kind of how I met you and Clint, and you know, just trying to make some money on doing affiliate marketing on the side. So,
cool. So what kind of lawyer are you? What do you do? What do you practice?
So mainly I live out here in Arizona. I practice business law. And inside that business law, I do a lot of like IP work. I don't do so much like trademark or patent or anything like that. I mainly do help protect brands when people are stealing their content through different means necessary, either through you know, litigation or helping them through cease and desist letters, or also DMCA takedowns.
So I guess, and that's what we're here to takedowns. Would you say it's fair that a DMCA is something that you do before you get into litigation? Basically, this is like
yeah,
you go about it to protect your content.
Yeah. So like,
so what is DMCA takedown?
The DMCA takedown is kind of the first step, I would call it. You know, the best way I can describe it is, imagine if you're on a sailing ship and you see a pirate, right? The first thing you're going to do is, you know, you'll fire a cannonball across their bow, right? It's like, don't mess with me. I know what you're doing. That's kind of what the DMCA takedown is. You're kind of putting that person or that infringer on notice, like, hey, I got my eye on you and I have a whole, you know, bevy of weapons I can use, but, you know, either you can stop what you're doing or there's gonna be more coming. That's what a DMCA takedown is. That's the best way I can describe it.
What does it stand for, DMCA?
So what DMCA stands for is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. of 1998. What it was, I mean, this like the very, the birth, the early years of the internet, right? Google's only around for a couple of years at this point. And so big business started complaining, big corporations, as well as a lot of these new internet service providers, like AOL and, a lot of the old brands, because they were afraid. Well, there's actually two parts to it. The big brands were afraid, like I think of a Microsoft, right? They knew that, back in the day, everything's on floppy disks and CD-ROMs. And so they were afraid of people ripping it or bypassing their security to then put up on the internet for free, right? But then you have the other side of the coin, where you have a lot of these new internet service providers like AOL, GoDaddy was starting, and they were afraid of being wrapped up in copyright lawsuits because they were hosting this material in one way or another, either content or software or whatever it was. So what they're trying to do is figure out a way to pretty much protect big business, say it.
The host wouldn't get in trouble if somebody's hosting a website that's stealing content. But it provides a mechanism,
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
The
mechanism. Yeah. So what happened was they passed the law. Congress did. It's been codified. It's federal law, and there's really two parts to the law. I only want to talk about one part I'll talk about right now a little bit. It's not that important to what we're talking about, but mainly that has to do with the anti-circumvention, they call it. So like the bypassing of security on CD-ROMs or anything really, kind of security when you get a code. And then also to help shut down like peer-to-peer networking and that kind of thing, or sharing of information. But the main part, which I spend most of my time in, is the second part, which is called the safe harbor, right? And the way the safe harbor provision works is in order for somebody to protect themselves, they send a takedown notice to a company, right? The host, let's call it. And the host, if they do what the law says, and there's certain rules, then what happens, they're considered inside a safe harbor. And I'm being very generic, I know we'll talk more about it in a minute. But so if they're in the safe harbor, then if, for example, if GoDaddy did what they're supposed to do, then they can't get sued for copyright infringement because they did what they're supposed to do under the law. So that's why DMCA really exists, the DMCA Takedown.
Can I ask a brief question here?
Sure.
What kinds of websites really need this tool? What kinds of websites should be using DMCA takedowns?
That's a great question. So it's everybody. I know it sounds really silly by saying that, but if you, for example, if you're an affiliate marketer, people are, I have it happen all the time. People steal my content verbatim, or it doesn't matter what kind of affiliate marketing you're in. You see it all the time where someone will change every fifth word, right? And then they say it's theirs. So affiliate marketer law firms use it all. Do this all the time. They get paid to do it because people are stealing images, content, whatever it might be. So it's almost like the first thing for example, right, when someone steals my content, I find out, I get pissed off right away. So I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Well, I don't know what to do. So it's almost like that's the first thing, your gut reaction, like someone's stealing your stuff. So, it's good to be able to say, this is kind of like a fast way of stopping the bleeding, right? So they stop doing what they're doing. You're forcing them to stop do what they're doing. So, it's like if you're like a mommy blogger, or if you're an agency, right? Another thing, like people need the service because they need to be able to do this because it's really its only way as a content creator to really protect your own stuff without having to go to court right away, to make them stop.
Now, Paul, there are two types of takedowns in this. You have a Google takedown and a domain takedown. Can you talk about the difference between those two?
Yeah, sure. So I consider it's almost like the Google one. I wrap it up with a third. I call it a third party. So the Google takedown, for example, is let's pretend someone's stealing verbatim my article, which happens all the time. And so a Google takedown is you go to Google and you say, hey, so-and-so, this website is stealing my stuff. Here's my stuff verbatim, or you explain to them, you show them what's yours, you show them what the person is stealing, and then Google will have to investigate and make a decision. If they feel that it is being stolen, then what they'll do is they'll de-index that page, right? So it's a very powerful weapon, because especially if someone's trying to rank for what you're ranking for by stealing your content or even selling your content. I've had that before, where someone's trying to sell an ebook, which is like verbatim my articles. So what happens is then Google will de-index that page or those posts or whatever it might be, or those images, and then they will never get ranked ever, right? Unless they do it under a new post somewhere else, and that kind of thing. But that will not; they'll be de-indexed. Now, the second type is the host. Now, before I go with the second type, with that, there's also like brands will have a DMCA takedown, like really big brands like eBay or Amazon, or like I had the other day a Medium.com, right? Like someone was stealing my article, and it was at Medium, right? And so they actually had a DMCA process because the article was posted on a Medium server, right? And it was because somebody else did it, so they couldn't go to Medium. Was not going to get taken down. So they said, you filled the form, we'll take the person off our system and we'll delete the article. So that's kind of third party. So I consider it like even Google, a third party, which is the bigger brands will have it, like an eBay and Amazon. And then you have the host, right? And so pretty much wherever you're hosted at, whether it be GoDaddy or Green Geeks or wherever, they all have guaranteed they have a DMCA. And so the third way is what you do is you go to the host and you say, hey, this guy's stealing my stuff. There's a whole reason why the whole law was written. This person is stealing my content, take it down, right? And so what happens on the host side, which is a little bit different than with Google, what happens on the host side is then once you submit the takedown notice, then the host has to go back to, because they have all the information of the user, right? You don't. They go back to the host and they say, the host goes to the infringer, let's call it. They say, what's your response to that? Now, if the person never doesn't respond within a certain amount of time, then that page will be completely taken down. The whole site will be taken down, like the whole site, and it'll never be put back up on that host. So that's like a death blow, right? So now that person has to go move that site to another server or another company, because the host, right? Like let's call GoDaddy in this example, they followed the rules, right? They provided a way for a copyright holder, right, content copyright information, to make the infringer take down their stuff. And by this process that GoDaddy, the form, let's say, they make it fill out, they are now protected from being sued by the person that was initially getting their stuff stolen from. So
basically, with these kind of three takedowns, the idea is that you've got the Google one, which removes from search, so that'll de-index a page. Then you've got a brand one, which would, let's say somebody is stealing your stuff and they've got it up on eBay. eBay would take down the post, or Medium would take down the post. And then you've got the
Amazon
one, where that's where the host would actually take down the entire site.
Entire site, not just the page, not just the post. The entire site will be taken off their system.
Sure.
It's low. I mean, it's like the site's gone. So now that owner will have to move that site somewhere else to either do it again or just give up. Like you don't know what's gonna happen next, but by the host doing that, they're protected, right? They're out of it. They said, okay, we did what we're supposed to do under federal law. So we filed the DMCA process, so they're out of the game. But the person who's stealing your stuff is they don't have a site right now.
Is there ever a case where trying to do a DMCA takedown blows up in your face? Is there misuse?
Yes. So when you file your DMCA takedown, what what you need to do is you have to attest to certain things, right? So you sign saying, I hereby certify that this is true and correct statement, that, you know, it's legitimate. And so there's been cases where, you know, brands will be against each other, right? So let's say and someone will do a DMCA takedown to another, but it's frivolous. Well, then there's been federal law that says, you know, that was illegal what you did. You said this is a legitimate takedown, and it really wasn't. So then now there's federal fines, which good luck getting out of that. So I can't remember the case. There's actually some pretty big corporations doing that to each other. So it can blow up in the person. I wouldn't consider blowing up in your face, but you have to be truthful when you're doing this, because there's other ramifications if you're lying by frivolously doing this. So, you know, that's why when you got to make pretty darn sure that you can back up what you're saying. You know, so for example, like if I do a DMCA takedown for a client, you know, I do my due diligence, right? So let's say he comes to my site. I've had this before where they've come to me. Like I have some crazy ass stories, but like I've had flower shops come after each other. Like I've had like random stuff, right? And so, you know, they come to you and they say, look, this guy's stealing my stuff. Look, and they are. So the first thing you do is you want to, you know, capture the URL and then capture a screenshot or something so you can back it up later on. Because they're going to, so as soon as you fire that shot at them, they're going to take the page down and say, oh, we weren't doing anything. And you're like, well, actually, yeah, I have a screen print from that day, which is pretty strong. And then, you know, I feel as a representative of my client that I have the information to show that this is legit, you know, legit item, you know, to the host or to the third party or Google or whoever it might be.
We're kind of talking about that process. So you're saying kind of step one is make sure you capture that they have actually. We don't need to go into nitty gritty detail, but what would somebody do to do their own DMCA takedown? What are the next steps?
Yeah, so I always look at it as like two phases, right? Like the first question is like, how do you even know, right? So how do I know that somebody's stealing my stuff, right? Like, I guess I can Google it, and if I see my article, but that's kind of rare because what if it's not ranking as high or whatever it might be? So, you know, that's the first hurdle, is to determine how someone's stealing your stuff. Now, there's been cases I've had to litigate where it was really easy because they were ranking literally for the brand of my client. So it was really easy to see that because it was like they're one, they're two on the SERPs. It's like, wait a minute, it doesn't even make sense. But you know, that's the first part. Is like first finding the stolen content. That's the first part. So once you found it, you know, the process is you have to send a letter or fill out a form. You know, but the hard part about filling out a form, well, this is about the hard part about sending a letter. The statute provides that there's certain requirements that need to be in this letter. I mean, I can go through it. There's about 6 of them. And it's just, you know, who you are, what's the content being stolen, who's stealing it. You know, you're testing that you're not lying, it's the truth to matter, you know. And so there's a letter, and you send that to what's called to the company or whoever's, you know, the brand. The other type is a form, right? Now that's, you know, oh, it's easy, it's a form. Well, it's kind of a pain in the ass because first of all, you have to find the form or sometimes, and not all websites have a form. They might have an email address, but it's buried deep in the site. It's not like a big button that says, here's a DMCA. It's more deep inside, you know, a policy on some random page. You really start digging for it. So once you do find it, it could take you 20 minutes to find the right form, or even find the form or the website to submit it. So then, you know, there's that time. So right there, you're spending at least an hour of your time preparing. And then once you've done that, then what you need to do is you send it to them. You know, so you're talking, it could take anywhere between 1 to 4 hours if you're doing it yourself, unless you've done it before and you know exactly where to go. Plus, you got to like make sure you're following the correct formatting of the letter that you're sending to, if let's say they don't have a form to fill out, that it's providing the correct information so that it's the right method to take it down. So I mean, as a normal person, it could take, like I said, I think they take some time. But the alternative is you hire a lawyer. But easily, and I've talked to I've talked to at least 2 or 3 other IP lawyers. The minimum you're going to pay for a DMCA takedown is $500. Because I mean, depending on the rate of the attorney and the time it takes, I mean, it's 1 to 2 hours of their time, right, at their rate. So it's very expensive. So most of the time, it's almost like a luxury, right? Like if you're a big enough brand, or you're a brand that has a little bit of money, then you can go have the lawyer go do it for you. But you don't have to have a lawyer do it for you. It's just another way of doing it. So really, it's very cost prohibitive if you want to do it. If you want to hire somebody. I know there's other companies on the internet that provide a service, but they cost anywhere between, I don't know, things like, I think at least the least amount I've seen is $200 for them to do it for you. So
Like
it's a time. What's that?
like a LegalZoom type service.
Yeah, exactly, like a LegalZoom type service.
So let's say you do it on your own and you tell to Google, you do the Google version of this. Approximately how long does it take, like for Google to resolve it and decide yes or no?
So what's really kind of cool about Google is like once you file it, like they know who you are, right? Because you have to log into Google and so they know who you are, and usually it takes anywhere to 1 to 2 weeks. Now that sounds like a long time, but think about it, it's Google, right? And they have to check every single one of these. So I've just done 2 recently for myself on my own brand, and it's taken about 2 weeks. Not obviously because of virus or the higher in 2 weeks, but I've seen even less than that before. I'm not really sure with a rhyme or reason for it, but that's kind of at least figure about 2 weeks for this to kind of go through. It's not gonna happen overnight. But what happens is like once, for example, with Google, they'll take it down. And it was really interesting this last time with myself. I did 2 different sites that were taking my own material for my affiliate site, and they actually said, okay, yeah, we're taking it down, but you should also try to do a DMCA takedown at it wasn't their host because they were bigger brands. They actually provided a link. I thought that was pretty cool because it's kind of going above and beyond. I've never seen them do that before. What's also kind of cool about Google is they're part of a bigger project through, I think it's Harvard. It's the Lumen project, they call it. And what it is every DMCA takedown gets put into a massive database. And so you can start seeing trend, like for trending or like industries and stuff like that. It's really kind of cool. Like if you go to it, you'll see like very big brands doing this all day long, but if you go to a host, it could be anywhere between, I would say less than 2 weeks, probably around a week. It depends though, right? How big is the host? How big is the company? Is it one person doing it? Is it a team? I don't know. But figure about a week for it to be processed. But either way, once you submit it, it's not like you're going to submit it and never hear back again, right? Like they have to respond back to you. So you should get that information back from the host or from Google saying, okay, we've done it. Or the person responded and they're fighting you and they're saying, no, I created it first. Or I said, oh, they never even responded at all, so we're taking down the site. Like they'll tell you what happens. So you'll know what happens after you submit it. Just the timing maybe depending on what's going on.
What's the success rate on these? You send it to Google or you send it to the host. Does it usually work? Does it rarely work? How does it go?
It usually works. I mean, the only time it doesn't, let's say, that's it all depends, right? I know it's a very lawyer answer. Oh, it depends. But it's like, it depends because of a million factors. Like, what if you were wrong, right? Or what if they found that there was no infringement, and but it all starts like how clean is the story, how clean is the information you're providing them. But if it's legit, it works more than a majority of the time. Like probably, I can't know a percentage, but it almost works. I would say probably 90% of the time, 95% of the time, because like if it's legitimate, it's hard for them to deny it. Now they could deny it and they could fight it, but then that's a whole other realm now. Now they're saying, well, no, that's not stolen content. That's my content. And now you're going to the copyright infringement world where, you're going to litigate on this, that kind of thing. So, but the ones that I've done for myself and for my clients, they've happened. I mean, every single one of them happened because it's a process, right? It's a process part of a bigger machine, right? And so this is just the first phase of the machine. Now you're able to make decisions then at the end of that. So after you do a DMCA and you take them down, do you want to spend your time creating content, or do you want to spend more time, finding the person again, or whatever it might be? So, you have options after the DMCA, but it works more than a majority of the time.
What if you find the person is outside the United States?
That's a good question. So the way it works is, like, obviously it's federal law, right, in the United States, and the United States doesn't have jurisdiction outside of it. However, there has to be what's called a nexus, right? So if there's somehow, let's say the host is in France, right? There's actually two ways where you can still make them comply. One is you can say, let's say the company is a French company, but their servers are in the United States. So they're Amazon servers. Well, guess what? They're in the United States. The United States has jurisdiction over those servers, which means they have to comply with US law, right? The other way is if the person, somehow, like, this is a good example. So let's pretend you're using like a service like Cloudflare, right? So you're like part of, let's say your servers in France, or say your servers in Southeast Asia, we're using Cloudflare. Well, Cloudflare is in the United States, right? So there's still ways to get this person to take their stuff down, or at least do it in a way where you can annoy them and make it difficult for them to do what they're doing. So, for example, one time I had somebody, I couldn't find out who it was, right? Because I did a who is, it just came up as Cloudflare. I was like, well, what the hell? So, but guess what? Cloudflare has a DMCA process. And actually, it was kind of cool because Cloudflare, I did a DMCA, and they knew right away who the host was. And so they went to the host. Well, actually, what they did, they actually turned off the CDN. And then they went to the host and said, hey, you have a DMCA takedown. And then the host then went to the person. And then guess what happened? The person took stuff down because they knew I had them, right? Because now Cloudflare turned them off. The host turned them off. And so there's ways of, what's a good way of saying, of gently making the person do it. Now they might not do it in the end, but at least you're doing something about it.
Is there ever a situation where you can't find out who's doing it, where you can't find the culprit?
Oh yeah, of course. Like, that's, you can do what you can use, like you do a who is, or that kind of search. And sometimes it might be some server, some server in some person's house and wherever. And you might not be able to get to it. So the best thing you can do in that situation is maybe, de-index that page, right? So they can't ever rank it. So it's not even going to be hurting you. And just say, well, I try to do, you try to do the best you can, but sometimes there's situations where you're not able to find the server. But if it's most people are being hosted at, one of 30 server companies, right? Like somehow. And then you also have the CDN network. So you can usually find them, but I've had times where I wasn't able to because, like I said, it was a small server company, or it was a one-man shop that had one server. So
if somebody's running their own server, send them a takedown notice, they're not going to respect it.
Not going to laugh their ass off and be like, whatever. And then they're going to keep on doing it. Now, what I have seen too. So I have a friend of mine, it hasn't happened to me, but another attorney who's a 30-year IP attorney, patents and everything. He said one of the biggest costs he sees is, like, he has a client who has a brand. I'm not sure what they do. I think it might be a mommy blogger of some sort, but they have like a team literally out there looking for her content, right? And then they're doing this all day long. And he did, I think in a course of 3 years, he did 7 takedown notices to the same people, because what happened was they take it to the host, right? I mean, this is the hard way. He was with a letter, like legal document, and not filling out a form. So he was doing the written content wise, and so what ended up happening is they kept on like going to a new server and doing it all over again, and then going to a new server and doing it all over again. And so like if you multiply that, that woman or that brand had already spent $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 just to take down the same person, right? So it got really expensive, but it made sense because this person was literally stealing her brand, right? So you spend so much money. It doesn't matter what kind of, if you're a website owner, you spent money on it. You have either through content or images or time or whatever it is. And I mean, honestly, nothing pisses me off as a brand owner, as an affiliate site, than someone stealing my stuff, right? Whether I was an attorney or not, like. So I mean, it's going to happen. Some people are just going to keep on stealing it, but there's really definitely is a cost to it as you keep on going through. So they could stop it the first time you send them a DMCA. They could stop and never do it again, or they might do it somewhere else. But at least you're on top of it, so it's not hurting you. You're just mildly annoyed.
In the Black Hat world, I deal with syndicated content via RSS feeds all the time. And I get people that get grumpy about my syndicated content. They're like, I want a link removal. This is horrible. But I tell them, I can remove the link, but it'll be right back tomorrow. You need to stop syndicating your content first. Otherwise, we'll keep finding it through syndication. Do you ever have edge cases where people want to take down things they've accidentally syndicated?
I haven't. No, not yet. Most of the things I usually see are people stealing. I've been seeing a lot of stuff in the black hat world, mainly just the white hat. I mean, majority of it was in the white hat stuff, and it's just more people being lazy and just stealing content. Like honestly, like I've actually seen larger brands unknowingly steal content from smaller brands because they hire a writer, right? And the writer is lazy. The writer literally just takes somebody else's article and chops it up and puts it in and puts it at a bigger brand. Well, now it just exposes the bigger brand, right, for copyright infringement. They don't even know it's even happening. I've seen that happen a couple times. But no, I haven't seen anything with that before. It's a good question, though. That does happen.
And you mentioned that DMCA takedowns work on people who are changing every fifth word.
No, I mean, what I was saying is like, you can find it. So what will happen is I've seen people steal my content, right? Or seen my clients' content where they're trying to change like every third, fifth, sixth word, right? But it's still the same article. So it's getting through Google, right? And so it doesn't look like, but then it's still the same article. Like they don't change the headers, right? But the body, like you'll see like every fourth word's changed, or they'll just change out some synonyms throughout the article to make it different. But it's really, in essence, it's the same article. Like, so I found it and then I sent it to Google, and Google's like, I'm like, this is a copy verbatim. I figured it was every fifth word because I was counting, right? So it could be anywhere. But I sent it to Google and they took it down.
At what point do you think it's unique enough? Because we have lots of people in the SEO community who are rewriting other things, probably the same way that high school students, rewrite Wikipedia entries for reports.
I wish we had Wikipedia when we were kids. Like I don't know, honestly. Like there's no rule of thumb. I actually asked the same question to an IP or to a copyright guy, like who does like graphics and imagery, and he's like, there's no answer to that. Like it has to be different. But what does that mean? If you see someone just changing every couple of words, but it's literally the same formatting and same header, that hasn't been changed all that much. You'd be a little more creative than that. I feel like people like steal a couple sentences or a paragraph. I don't care, whatever. Like I'm not gonna. But if I see somebody taking like a majority of my article or changing, just a few words, then that's when I get a little pissed off. But I mean, I don't know. There's no rule of thumb. You know, I've asked that same question myself. Like, so.
Do people use this for reputation management at all? Can they take down a quote they don't want living, saying that's my quote, I'm going to do a takedown?
You know, it's really funny. I haven't seen that, but I was looking at a Google article. I should look at Google's website, um, and it was on Google, and it said like examples of DMCA takedowns they've had before, and one of it was like a politician, right, in like Europe somewhere, saying like he didn't like what someone had said about him, and they sent a DMCA takedown. Google denied it, you know. So it's really interesting because I haven't seen people use it for reputation management. Probably people do it somehow. I haven't personally seen it, but I think like that's why Google reviews and brands review what you send them, right? Just the legitimacy of it and whether or not there's, I wouldn't say nefarious, but reasons around it. Maybe because you're a politician and you don't want bad press or, you know, whatever it might be. So, you know, that's kind of on the call of the brand of the host or Google as to how they look at it. You know, it's really interesting, I think, because there's a gray area. You know, who makes the final decision? It's the host or it's the Google or third party of whether they're going to take it down.
Yeah, I guess the limit is however much it takes to get Google to agree.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, when I send a DMCA takedown, I don't write them big long like narrative as to what they're stealing. I'll look at it and say like, here's my URL, here's their URL. They copy it verbatim, or they'll say, you know, they changed so many words, or you know, it's enough to put them on the trail, and then they can see it for themselves. They'll make the call, right? I'm saying this is true. They're gonna make the call whether or not they think it's true, right? And then they, in the end, they may or may not grant it, but that doesn't mean it's true or not. This means they may or not they granted it. So it's a process for people that make content to possibly get it removed if someone's stealing.
What about recycling expired websites? People do this all the time where they get a domain name and they go to the Wayback Machine and they download the content and reuse it like from defunct businesses.
Yeah, I haven't seen that used like that before. I mean, like I said, it could happen. Like that's a really good question. It could go like that. I've never seen that myself. Because of, you know, maybe it's because the defunct business doesn't exist anymore. They care less, right? I don't really know. I haven't. Most of the time I see it is in fresher content that, you know, in the last year or two that was written by multiple. That was written once and then taken by multiple people. If that makes sense. You know, it's not. I've never. I mean, that's a really good question. I've never seen that before.
And does this work for trademark infringement or is it just copyrights?
There's different. So DMCA is for copyright. So for a trademark, that's a whole other like way. You can. I think Google has a process for trademark stuff, but you got to send them trademark information. But I had not sent trademark information to Google through the DMCA process or to a host. That's another process, I believe.
Very cool. I don't see. Terry makes the joke, imitation is not a so sincere form of flattery, and I think that's kind of the whole idea that, you know, you spent money and you're trying to use this to make money and nobody appreciates it if it's stolen.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because you spend a lot of time and money, and then in the end, you realize that someone's outranking you on your own content that you wrote. Hold on.
Somebody's calling about their web content right now.
Yeah, no, my partner and I hung up on him.
So, I know that you have a website that helps facilitate the DMCA Takedowns. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that's been frustrating is the cost, right, to everybody just to do this themselves, either in time or money. I've seen, like I said, legal fees be $500, or it could be, use a service online. You're talking like 200 or 100 or 300 or somewhere in there. That was one of the problems I thought about. And the other thing I was thinking too is like it's such a pain in the butt to actually to locate the information. So so I created a site. Actually, Kyle and I worked on it together, and we just started the process about a year ago. And to find a fast and easy way that's cost effective to everyday individuals. It's called Takedown, and what it does is it's actually kind of cool. One, it kind of gets rid of two of the problems that kind of plague the system. One is actually locating the information, right? How do you find somebody to steal your content? So what we do is we actually utilize with Copyscape their system and find the stolen content, right, and let you know. And what you do is you can be able to upload your URLs. It'll scan it. It'll tell you if someone's stealing it, or actually they'll show you the URLs that potentially could be stolen, and then you can verify it yourself, right? Now that's half the equation, right? The other half is actually doing the takedown, right? The other half. And so what's cool about the site is once you've found that content, you can do the different forms of takedowns from software, from the website. So you can do a DMCA takedown to Google. You can do a DMCA takedown to the host. So it's all right there. So all that time and effort is really just been simplified all in one spot. And the cool thing is that we made it really cheap. I mean, it's very affordable. Right now, for a DMCA takedown or a free account, it's $5. And for a if you're a member and you get the pro account, it's $2.50, like $2.50, not $500. And then for the scans, we just charge a half a cent more than Copyscape on the free account, or we do it at cost on the pro account. So really, it's like we're just trying to make it easier for people to find and take down material that's being stolen without having to go through the process or waste a bunch of time or money, right? Because what I feel like is I like creating content. I don't like taking it down because taking it down takes forever, right? So it allows people to just take care of it themselves. So
very cool. I'd like to have Clint come on and give us some of his thoughts about DMCA. Clint's our resident black hat. So Clint, have you done any takedowns?
Yeah. You hear me now? Good.
Yeah, can hear you now.
I haven't really done any takedowns. I haven't gotten any either, so maybe I'm just spinning it good enough. I see the value of it, and I see why it pisses people off. On the other side of that, I think that there's, and this is just my perspective, 2 trillion websites, and using, in my opinion, just using like a Copyscape or saying, and I know the example was given just as an example, like every 5 words is changed, but how can you say that like Ted has not combined the same paragraph in the same amount of words in the same way as Paul did it with 2 trillion different texts written out there? You know what I mean? So I would like from my perspective, going out and copying someone else's website and their content and just putting it up and saying, "Oh, this is mine," that's kind of a douche move, and you're just lazy, right? And I see the purpose of using DMCA to combat that. I would just, to me, it seems like it's like you mentioned, Paul, before, where corporations were using this against each other, et cetera. And let me turn my camera on since you're the only one sitting there with the camera on. Using corporations is kind of just, or using that as an example of how people were fighting each other. And I think that gets down to the R level, the lesser known people level, and it just turns into petty stuff. So I like the idea. I like the idea of takedown. I think that's real cool, especially if you're being hit over and over again. You kind of sign up for that and protect yourself for the long term. I don't know. I guess from my perspective, it's just like, so what? Copying your stuff, making, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's. I mean, for me, like, it depends, right, on on
Yeah.
what they're taking. Like the full, there's a little bit of information.
Yeah.
I don't care, right? When I see, like you said, like a douche move, you take like the whole. Like, what really pisses me off when someone takes like
Right.
the whole page and republishes it, just the whole page, and then tries to sell it as part of like an ebook or some shit like that. Like, pissed, right? 'Cause I'm like, that's retarded. Like, this is the most boring article in the world. Like, so, it's just, it's almost like I feel like the DMCA is more on the call of the individual who created content in the first place, right? Like, if you don't really care, then, where's that line at, right? At what point when don't you care? There's a lot times I don't care. But sometimes like people get all pissed off and they're like, oh, I want to do a DMCA takedown. It's like, okay, well, that's the most cost-effective thing to do right now without filing a lawsuit, right? You're going to file a lawsuit, thousands of dollars. You just want to scare this person away. Maybe it'll stop, right? And they'll realize, oh, I shouldn't mess with Clint because he knows what the hell he's doing, right? And then, I mean, I wouldn't mess with Clint anyways, but
I messed with him. I think for me, if it was like something that I was making a crap ton of money on, and then Kyle went and copied it, and then outranked me with my own stuff, then I'd bust open the DMCA. You know what I mean? But I would
yeah. Look, I'll give an example, right? Here's a recent example, which I thought was crazy. I have a friend of mine who owns a very big site in the gardening niche, and someone like this hilarious, but he wrote an article on like grow lights, right?
Yep.
Number one or number 3 or something on Google. Big buyer's guide on grow lights, and then I was testing out our tool, and number 2 was eBay, right? But it was an ad on. It was an ad. It was somebody selling a product on eBay. And what this person did was literally took my friend's article and put it as part of his ad as his sale point to sell the grow light. So really, he was getting outranked by Google. I mean, he was getting ranked by eBay for the grow light because that guy took his shit and made it part of his sale, right? And because eBay had such a strong, DA that like it just outranked them. And I like found it. I was like, holy shit! I found.
So
eBay,
do you have
right?
to send the takedown notice to Google and eBay at that point?
So at that point, we just went. Yeah, actually, we did. I sent one to Google. I haven't heard back yet. And then eBay has a process, and I filled out the stuff for him because he's a friend of mine. I'm like, can I do it for you? And he said, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. And we sent it to eBay, and they took down the article or the auction, the listing. Yeah, it was so random, right? So I mean, that kind of like, yeah, did he lose money from that? Probably not. Maybe, who knows, right? Because it was grow lights, best grow lights. But it's still a person right above him, right? Which is eBay, which is more powerful. So now he's going to go to number 2 because that ad's going away. Why would eBay be there? So it's almost like, how much time do you really want to spend on doing this, and how much money do you want to spend? And really, I feel like the way the system is set up right now, it's expensive, right? So that's why nobody does it, because they're like, it's a big pain in the ass where it costs me a bunch of money. So that's why I was like, let's just build a tool that just makes it cheap, right? You're spending time doing other stuff. You're doing other stuff like SEO, or if you're writing content, or you're managing your brand. The last thing you want to do is go spend 4 hours figuring out how to take down eBay ad listing on one article.
So how expensive is it using your system?
So we have two counts. How easy it is, right? We have 2 accounts. We have free, or what do we call it? Beginner. Let's call it the free account. So there's no. Go ahead, Kyle. I saw your mic go on. Let Kyle say what it is.
We have a basic account that's free. You get 2 free scans and so the idea is that you can put in 2 of your most important money pages and check them every month. And then if somebody's taking it down, you can do a takedown. If on the free plan,
for free,
yeah,
for free. Like there's no credit card, there's no bullshit.
We're tapping into the Copyscape API. So if you want to put in more URLs to check, we just charge on the free plan the Copyscape price plus half a cent. And then when you find somebody that's stealing your stuff after that first free takedown, it's $5 a takedown. On the paid side, which is $20 a month, to run the URLs, we just charge the Copyscape price. So there's no markup on that. And then you get 5 takedowns for the month, and every takedown after that is $2.50. So going from the hundreds of dollars from the attorney to pennies, really.
Yeah, I mean, you can run a scan on a 1,000-word article for what do we figure? Like,
yeah,
8 cents. I mean, 8 cents to run the scan, and it'll say, "Hey, it's good or bad." It'll spit out like everything it finds, and then it'll say like, you can spend the time and go, "Wait, there's 400 words that match. What the hell?" And you click on it, and it shows you the text, and then you click the URL, and it'll take you to the site, and you go, "That's my freaking article. I'm gonna do a takedown right now." You Google, and then you sort of fill out the stuff, you send it out, and then you're done. Like you spent all but 3 minutes, right? And it costs you $270, $260, right? I mean, it's like, so, but if you hired me to do it or another IP attorney, it would be $500, right? Or it's not, I mean, it's a lot of information to find and do, but yeah, it's kind of it's relatively, it's very inexpensive.
Right, but if you're somebody out in the audience and you're thinking about doing a lot of takedowns, I suggest you turn off your RSS syndication first. That'll greatly reduce the amount of takedowns you need to do. If you're running WordPress, learn what those settings do and don't syndicate your content.
What are some, I don't know if you went over this, but what are some things you need to do to prove that you were first?
I mean, so what I always do, I mean, it's a good question. So there's different ways. One is you can use Wayback Machine, right? You can say, look, I wrote this article back whenever. Here's the screenshot of when I wrote it. What I usually do too is you'll see, because people will, let's say I wrote an article 2 years ago on whatever. I won't change it. I won't republish the date, right? So I'll leave the date the same. Because an old article, I'm not going to update it anyways. So I have that. I'll screenshot just to show it, and then with there, it's usually done in the last like 6 months, right? So it's pretty easy to show. And I know people can change the published date. I know you can do that in WordPress and make it look like it's been done. So that's what I usually do. I'll show the screenshots, and then I'll look at Wayback Machine if I need more evidence. But you don't really need to send them. They'll make that call. You know what I mean? Google will say, like, when was it originally indexed? Oh, it's indexed way back when, right? And this was indexed 6 months ago, or, so generally I'll do a Wayback Machine myself if I have to. I've never had to. Usually I get taken care of the first time. I will screenshot it if I need to. But usually it's kind of like those spammy sites too. Like every once in a while, it'll be a bigger brand. It's very, very, or a medium versus a medium. Or a small guy trying to break into a space, start taking everyone else's articles, and make them his own. But usually what I see is, it's funny. You see those spammy sites, right? That like will do that, where it's like XYZ123, fishing.com or something like that. And then they're the one who's actually stealing it verbatim. So that's pretty easy because it looks completely spammed out. And if you're a real legitimate brand and you say, look, I wrote this article, it's pretty obvious that you wrote that article. There's different ways you can show. You can show, like, when you purchase the article, if somebody wrote it for you, you can show, hey, look, this is when I originally got the article. because we originally published it. So I've never had to go that length before, because pretty much when you catch somebody, they know they're caught. It's kind of hard to hide it.
So free takedowns sounds like a really great service. I can't imagine most websites needing more than one a month. But if somebody does, or if they need that one a month, what's the URL? How do they find it?
It's a, oh, go ahead.
So, go ahead, no,
Takedown.com, but it's a TAKEDWN.com. So takedown without the O.
yeah, we took it down. We took the O down.
Clever.
Be mad, so I took it down. If you go to take down, right, then what's going to happen is you're going to find a site that was made in 1998. So if you own Takedown out there, let me know. But it's like some random Lycos website. I don't even know what it is.
Nice. Well, thank you for being on the show. Is there any wrap up? If somebody had more questions, how could they reach you?
They can email me through. I can chat with you in through a website. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups. You'll see me there. I'm in IMG as well. So if you're an IMG, I'm a member of IMG. You can hit me up there. What else, Kyle? Where else can they talk to us?
Paul at takedown.com.
Oh yeah, paul@takedown.com.
Great. Any final thoughts, guys?
No, good stuff.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Great, thanks, guys.
And with that, we will do networking and Remo for a little bit. I want to thank everyone for watching another awesome episode. So thanks a lot, Paul.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks, Clint.
Yep. Thanks for
Thanks,
coming.
Kyle.